Be showing you my first impressions on all the alpha variants. Reminder, this is just the first impressions. I will be doing full breakdowns of them and their original counterparts in a previous or in a upcoming video where once I get them fully unlocked, I will go over all their extra abilities. This is just going to be kind of showing you the basics and what I think about them. So first off, we're going to be showing Deadeye. His new skill is Aggressor. So he now has a weapon with a shotgun and a burst rifle, and firing without aiming to blast nearby enemies with the shotgun, or aim down sights to shoot it with a 5-round burst. Oh, as you can see, burst rifle and shotgun. Range on the burst rifle isn't as far as I would expect it to be. Kind of has a bit of drop off. Other than that, pretty average. Don't know how much it will really impact the Deadeye class, but it is a nice little change. I think I still prefer the assault rifle. Moving on to Zephyr. Zephyr now has chakrams, or Zephyrum now has the dragon chakrams, which will unleash rings of energy from the chakrams built into your arms. Chakram damage can be increased by attacking from a specific distance. As you can see, you do more damage when you're kind of like if you're further away. Not really sure what the range on that is. Probably around 20. Yeah, probably around 20 meters. Can do more damage at more range. Pretty good addition to the class, in case you just need a little bit more range to stay alive. Moving on to Barrage. Barrage now has Bounce Blaster, which is a rocket launcher that can be charged to increase its explosive power and radius. Charged blast will hit you as well, but also allow you to jump even higher. So as you can see, it does 50 damage and boosts you up. Or you can also just use your lingering threat to blast up. As you can see, charging it does around double damage. This one seems like it could be pretty good. Now let's move on to Vigilant.
Move fast. Shoot faster.
Vigilant has Prey Finder, which is a semi-automatic rifle. Each set of 5 rounds contains a bullet with extra power. As you can see, I do 60 on normal, then it goes up to 150. So it's a pretty good bump in damage. Kind of feel like more of that like scout rifle action rather than a sniper rifle. This will be pretty good. Move on to Roadblock. Roadblock now fires a fan-shaped burst of bullets with his Flurry Fist. And he also has Sentinel Wall, which allows you to place the shield As you can see, you can now place your shield. Well, I guess I shouldn't say you can. You do place your shield now. Instead of holding it up, you can no longer hold your shield up. And you can retrieve your shield. You can still shield bash, but you just have to make sure you press them at like the same time. As you can see, this is kind of his little shotgun blast. So that's going to be Roadblock. Seems like a very interesting change to him. Could be useful in some circumstances.
You got it now.
Move on to Krieger. Krieger now has a 40 Pulverizer, which is a shotgun with powerful recoil and a wide spread that can be charged with whatever button. Charging shots knocks back small enemies, and those enemies deal damage when colliding with others. See, it's a little shotgun, and charging it does a lot more damage. Time to wait and see on how good this actually is. Seems like it could be more useful for single target than like for those large dinosaur fights. Whereas I quite liked his machine gun in order to get the like snipers mainly. You can like break their little things that they snipe at you. So that's going to be Krieger. Overall, very interesting change. Now more close range than usual.
Withdrawing from combat.
Moving on to Murasame. He now has a glaive that has a different combo set. You'll also be able to freeze. If I can find somebody to shoot me real quick. Now his counter is like a freeze wave instead of just killing everything. It's gonna be Murasame. Moving on to Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor now has Quantum Rod, which is a rod that fires a blast beam of energy that repairs allies, damaging enemies, and paralyzes dinosaurs. The beam's effect will increase the longer it is focused on the target. As you can see, it does heal. Doesn't do a whole lot of healing though. It can paralyze. It doesn't paralyze very well, but I will show you that. So it does paralyze, but nowhere near as effective as the other paralyze he has on the original. So could be good just to get a little bit more healing out of him. The longer you do hold it, then the more healing it does. Probably more useful for like those large dinosaur fights. But if you're having like waves, like 1,000 little monsters, then probably not that useful.
Second opinion.
But let's go ahead and move on to Skywave.
Witness true magic.
Skywave now has Tempest Lance, which will call down lightning bolts that can paralyze enemies. Can also be charged to summon smaller bolts that have increased attack power. Here, I'll show you this. As you can see, you can kind of paralyze people now. And you can also charge it to do a lot of damage. This does take away your ability to heal though. So as you can see, you cannot heal people with it. The only way you can heal now is with your, the Optics Jammer, which is on like a 14-second cooldown. So if you're going to be using this one, you're probably going to want a secondary healer, because the only being able to heal once every 14 seconds usually does not cut it. It does do quite a bit of damage for being a support character, which is kind of nice. So kind of a big trade-off, but we'll have to see and weigh if there's any good use cases for it. And then let's move on to our final one, Nimbus.
Let's get this party started.
Nimbus now has 2 shotguns, which will inflict damage to enemies in rend mode and heals in mend mode. So, let's see. See, these. Close range shotguns deal quite a good damage. As we switch to healing, you can see they do a lot of healing. Not really sure how far. It feels like it does pretty good at ranged healing as well. Or maybe not. You have to be a little bit closer to get all of that healing off, but keep them decently alive at a good distance. And yeah, if you're up close, then you just heal them a ton. That's going to be all of their kind of basic changes. Now let's go to the main menu and show you the new mods that they gave us for each of them. So starting with Deadeye, his 2 alpha mods are going to be Force Multiplier, which makes it so landing consecutive hits on enemies with burst fire temporarily increases shotgun rate of fire. Could be pretty good. Kind of excited to see how much it does, especially when I upgrade it to make it use less shotgun ammo. Then we have Combined Arms, which hitting close range enemies with the shotgun increases the aggressor's base damage by 20%, which also sounds like it could be pretty good. So kind of excited to see what that one has to offer. And then the other upgrade that can also be used on the original is going to be linear thrust, which just changes the thrust attack and will knocking down small dinosaurs into walls or other enemies will deal additional damage. Honestly, don't really see this one being that useful, especially with piercing thrust, which just makes thrust attack super good. So, I mean, maybe we'll just have to kind of wait and see how good this is. But expectations on that are kind of low right now. Now moving on to Zephyr. Zephyr's alpha mods are going to be Dragon Breath, which will modify Dragon Chakram performance. Completing the combo with a timed attack unleashes massive rings of energy and will not work when you're on your ultimate. So this one is pretty good, especially for damage. Get a lot more damage with this. Then you also have Chakram Lure, which will pull in small enemies hit by the 5th attack of the combo, and also stun everybody with the 5th attack. So that one could be better for ad clear, and then Dragon Breath better for single target. And then we have the general mod is going to be Step Up, which will increase base attack damage after using Turbine Step, which sounds really good. We'll just have to wait and see how long that attack bonus is available for. It's only like 1 second, then obviously it won't be that good, but if it's for like 5 seconds or so, it could be pretty good. Now let's move on to Barrage. Barrage's alpha mods are Rapid Blaster, so after firing a charged shot, all remaining rockets will be shot one by one at a higher rate of fire. So depending on what exactly that means, if it means it's going to shoot all of the other ones fully charged one by one, then it could be pretty good. If it just means it's going to shoot all of them at like base rate of base damage, then that's might be good. Just kind of to wait and see on that one. Still probably going to be pretty good though, regardless of the outcome. Then you also have Bounce Blaster or Rapid Charge, which will increase the charge time, which to me sounds a little bit better because it sounds like you'll have a bit more control with that, other than this one where you're putting all your eggs in one basket. But I'll have to kind of wait and play with those and tell you what I think after. Then you also have the general mod of Bombard Grenade, which will now make your grenades explode multiple times. Kind of have to wait and see how that turns out. Otherwise, probably just keep using Lingering Threat. Moving on to Vigilant, the alpha mods are going to be Timed Shot, which firing a specific bullet within the designated time interval will unleash a more powerful shot. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how more powerful that shot is, and if it will stack with the 5th bullet or if it replaces the 5th bullet. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. And then you also have Invigorating Shot, which will make it so landing critical hits on enemies will reduce the cooldown, which, I mean, if you're doing ad clear, could be good. Otherwise, single target is not going to be that useful. She also got as a general mod Hellstorm, which makes it so your ice projectiles now fire in 3 directions, but decreases the chance of freezing dinosaurs. So my guess is it will still freeze small dinosaurs just fine, but probably won't be very good for the large dinosaurs. So it's time to wait and see on how that goes. Now let's look at Roadblock. Roadblock will Alpha will have the explosive wall, which makes it so when you retrieve your sentinel shield, it causes a powerful explosion to occur. But retrieving your shield will decrease the durability by 700. So just kind of wait and see how much damage that exactly does. Then you also have Decoy Wall, which will increase Taunt's area of effect and increase your shield durability by 100. So, sounds pretty good. Taunting in a bigger area is going to be very useful, especially if you're getting all the enemies pulled towards you, which is always what you want. Then you also have the general mod that he got, Intimidation, which will temporarily disable the use of all abilities for nearby hostile exofighters, basically making you into a Stegosaurus. And we all know how annoying those are, so this is going to be pretty good for PvP anyway. Moving on to Krieger. Krieger's alphas mods are going to be Overcharge, which creates a second charging stage, and charging to that second stage fires a high power shot that consumes up to 6 ammo. So just, again, all your eggs in one basket. We'll have to see how much damage that does and if it's useful or not. Otherwise, we have Stun Blast, which will make it so charge attacks now knock back hostile exofighters and can stun dinosaurs. Depending on how much stun this does, it could be very helpful. Because being able to stun those large dinosaurs is going to be really good for your team. Especially for those Savage Gauntlets, where those big dinosaurs are probably your biggest painkillers. So we'll have to wait and see how much stun that actually does. The other mod that he got as a general thing is Reload Dash. So it will automatically reload your weapons when you use your thruster dash. Don't know how useful this is because the animation for his thruster dash is pretty long. So depending on if they shorten that for this one or not, will determine if it's useful or not. And then let's look at Mursame. The alpha mods are going to be Frost Flower, which will alter the range of your counterattacks and create a ice field around you, which sounds pretty good. Or you also have Ice Demon, which will unleash a burst of ice cold air with the 5th attack of the combo, which also sounds pretty good, especially for more general use instead of relying on your counter. And he also got a general mod of Steel Crescent, which will allow you to charge your steel or charge your Crescent Moon and make it deal more damage. Don't know how useful that is going to be, but excited to test it out. Moving on to Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor Alpha's mods are going to be Adrenaline Beam, which will grant a temporary attack buff to friendly exofighters when firing at max power, but will reduce the base damage you do, which I mean you're not going to be doing a lot of damage anyway, so buffing your teammates is going to be pretty good. We'll just have to wait and see how much attack bonus that is and how long it lasts, and like what it takes to actually get to the max power. Or we also have Energy Efficiency, which will reduce the rate of energy consumption when firing at max power. So kind of have to wait and see how good that is, especially with all the things that when you're firing at max power you do a lot more damage and healing. So kind of have to wait and see on which one is better. My guess is Adrenaline Beam will be better. Next up we have Nemtosis, which makes it so that feed can now paralyze enemies. Honestly, don't really see that being too useful. Maybe in PvP, you can like paralyze somebody and run away, or whatever you can do. So, I guess for PvP, could be pretty good. Now let's move on to Skywave. Skywave have Shock Squall, which will modify Tempest Lance performance so that the charged attack rain down 3 consecutive lightning bolts. Will make it so that charging is going to take longer though, and will decrease base damage. So how useful this is going to actually be, it doesn't really sound like it's going to be too useful. Like just a kind of a modification. So kind of have to wait and see on that. And then we also have Delayed Bolt, which will increase lightning bolt radius and also delay the lightning bolt generation. So if I'm reading it correctly or understanding it correctly, sounds like you get a bigger radius, but then once it like lands, it's going to take a second for it to actually do damage instead of being like more instant. And then she also got Skill Scrambler, which will temporarily disable the use of all abilities for enemies hit by Optics Jammer, but it will no longer jam enemy vision. For PvP, sounds pretty good, especially since these two are not very good for PvP. And then finally, let's look at Nimbus. You have Shotgun Mastery, which is just going to increase the performance of your shotguns, both the damage and the healing effects. Obviously, very useful. Then you also have Kickback, which will allow you to heal yourself when you're healing other people. Which, if you're a single healer, then this is pretty useful. It's going to keep you alive basically all the time. And then the other general mod she got is Jamming Hollow, which will blind or jam enemies nearby after warping to the hologram. Don't really see this being too useful, but maybe it has a use. And then that's going to be all of the alpha variants. The other thing that I wanted to show off is going to be kind of the general mods that we got. We got 4 new general mods. We have Conservation module, which will reduce the rate at which your overhealing depletes. So like that green health bar you get when you get overhealed will go down less, which doesn't really sound that useful, especially compared to everything else. Then you also have Renewal module, which will repair allies for an additional 100 health when recalling them. Which I mean is a nice bonus. Might even be useful on Nimbus right here, since she does a lot of recalling with her hologram. So kind of excited to play out with that one, see if it's useful, if I can fit it in anywhere. And then you have Safeguard module, which will reduce the damage taken from critical hits. Kind of more of a PvP pick. Is it really going to be that useful? I don't really see it being too useful. Then you also have Sanguine module, which will basically give you lifesteal. When you defeat enemies, repairs exosuit health. Amount repaired varies according to enemy type, and small dinosaurs do not count. So I don't know how useful this is actually going to be, especially since it doesn't work with small dinosaurs. Gonna have to play around with it and find out, but my guess is it's not going to get a whole lot of use, especially compared to all these other effects. But that will be all of the all the alphas and all the new mods that we got. Just as a overall general thought, I do really like the alpha variants because it does allow you to have like a PvE build for one variant and then a PvP build for the secondary variant, which is very nice. Or if you just want to have two different builds for different scenarios of like PvE or whatever, then you can also do that. So it does give you a little bit more build variety in the game, which is always nice. But anyway, I will catch you guys later, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.